Lesbian detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now. Lesbian detective. Lesbian detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message. I present to you, Lesbian Detective.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to a new week on a new episode. And let me tell you something. I'm excited about this episode.
Wow.
The next 2 episodes, guys, I have put my foot, my neck, my back, my hip, everything in the episode.
Is that why I haven't been able to find you?
Yeah. I've been working, guys. I've been killing it. My job been a lot, my wife been a lot, my kid been a lot. But I don't know. I like these 2 next episodes so much. But I'm excited. And my wife, she got a tattoo, guys. Sorry.
I'm hurt.
But she been walking when you smell a break they shoulder to their elbow? That's how she been walking. And it's the funniest thing ever to me.
I told my wife I need a sleeve for my sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts.
But guys, I don't know when you are able to see it, but you will probably next episode, right?
Yeah.
So you guys, you're able to see it next episode if she's still not walking like a little mommy.
Well, next episode, I still have to finish the tail. So next episode won't be a completed tattoo, but it'll be a healed tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Take 1.
So with this episode, I want you guys to really go to our social media because I'm going to try my best to post everything about this episode before it's released, but sometimes it's released too early and I'll be asleep. But check it out on YouTube. It will be released at 12 p.m. because it's so many pictures of people that you have to see to visualize the crime, So then I have a little family tree. When you hear the case, I'm oh, okay, Sierra, I get why I need to see everything. Okay, you understand why. But let's say my favorite line. Now let's get into the episode. In 2012, a young mother disappeared without a trace. At first, it appeared to be another missing person case. But as investigators began looking deeper, they discovered that her disappearance was connected to a much larger story, one involving family secrets, years of hidden accusations, and a criminal investigation that was already unfolding before she vanished. The last person known to have seen her alive would soon be gone too. Important evidence would be discovered. Instead of providing answers, it would produce even more questions. A missing woman, a family under investigation, a death that changed everything, and a mystery that remains unsolved more than a decade later. What happened during those final hours? Did someone silence her because of what she knew? Or is the truth something investigators have not uncovered yet? Tonight, we examine the disappearance of a young woman whose story exposed a hidden world behind closed doors, and a case that continues to leave more questions than answers. This is the case of Brittney Wood. Before Brittney Wood became the center of Alabama's most heartbreaking missing person case, she was a daughter, a mother, and a survivor. Born on February 8, 1993, Brittney grew up in Mobile County, Alabama. Friends and family describe her as caring, protective, and someone who loved spending time with the people closest to her. By the time she was 19 years old, she was also the mother of a young daughter. According to those who knew her, her daughter was the most important part of her life. Brittney wanted to give her the kind of childhood she wished she had. But behind those hopes was a painful past. Long before Brittney disappeared in May of 2012, she had already survived something that no child should ever have to experience. In 2003, when Brittney was just 11 years old, she disclosed that she had been sexually abused by her grandmother's former boyfriend, Ronald Robertson. According to court records and reporting by AL.com, Brittney first confided in a youth minister. The youth minister informed Brittney's mother, unlike many abuse cases that never made it into court, this one did. Brittney testified against him, reliving some of the most traumatic moments of her childhood in front of a courtroom. Her testimony became part of the evidence presented during the trial. Ronald was convicted. He received a life sentence for rape, along with an additional 10-year sentence for sexual abuse. For an 11-year-old child, standing up in court against the man accused of abusing her could not have been easy. It meant speaking openly about personal trauma, answering difficult questions, and trusting the justice system would protect her. At the time Brittney disappeared nearly a decade later, many people outside her family had no idea she had already helped put one of her abusers behind bars. That history is important because it shows that Brittney had already experienced what it was like to report abuse. On May 30th, 2012, Brittney Wood vanished without a trace. She left behind her family. She left behind a young daughter. And more than a decade later, no one has been held responsible for her disappearance. To understand what happened to Brittney Wood, we have to go back several months before she disappeared. The events surrounding her case did not begin on May 30th, 2012. They began in February 2012. Inside a family that investigators would soon discover was carrying years of hidden secrets. On February 26, 2012, Brittney's uncle, Scott Wood, contacted the county sheriff's office after discovering what he believed was inappropriate communication involving a child while he was living with his sister, Wendy, and her husband, Donnie. To protect her privacy, she had been identified in public records and reportedly only by her initials, D.H. According to the 2021 documentary Monsters in the Shadows, Scott did not report rumors of secondhand information. He contacted law enforcement after seeing something that deeply concerned him while living in his sister's home. The reports were documented immediately and investigators opened a criminal investigation. Just over a week later, on March 5th, 2012, County Sheriff's Office investigator Eric was assigned to the case. At first, detectives believed they were investigating a single allegation involving one child. But as interviews began, the investigation quickly took an unexpected turn. More victims started coming forward. Some described abuse that had happened years earlier but had never been reported. Other names some of the same individual investigators were already looking into. As detectives compared interviews, they noticed similarities that suggested these were not isolated incidents. The investigation grew larger with every new statement. According to Brittney's mother, Scott contacted her shortly after the report and told her that law enforcement on their way to his sister's house. He also asked if he could stay with her. Brittney's mother later recalled in Monsters in the Shadow that they spent nearly 3 days talking. During the time, Scott shared everything he had discovered and explained why he felt he had no choice but to contact the authorities. Investigators continued interviewing family members. The allegation created deep division within the family. Some family members chose to cooperate with detectives. Others denied any wrongdoing. Relationships that had existed for decades began falling apart as accusations spread through the family. One of the people investigators wanted to speak with was Brittney. According to former investigator Eric, detectives attempted to contact Brittney during the investigation because they believed she might have information related to the allegations involving Donnie. Eric also stated that investigators reviewed text messages that, according to him, indicated Brittney was willing to speak with law enforcement. It is important to note that Eric shared this information years later while he was on the show Monsters in the Shadows. After leaving the county sheriff's office, investigators have never publicly released those text messages, and the sheriff county has not officially confirmed or denied his account. Exactly what Brittney knew has never been made public. Investigators has also never disclosed whether she was formally interviewed before she disappeared. Those questions have become one of the most important aspects of this case. By the spring of 2012, detectives continued to build their case, what had become a much larger investigation than anyone has ever thought of. Meanwhile, Brittney was focused on everyday life. She was raising her young daughter, spending time with her family, trying to move forward after surviving abuse as a child. To the people around her, there is little indication that she will soon become the center of an entirely different investigation. Then on May the 3rd of 2012, Brittney Wood disappeared. The investigation that had started with allegations of abuse suddenly became intertwined with the search of a missing 19-year-old mother. By the morning of Wednesday, May the 3rd of 2012, there was no indication that this would be the last day anyone would see 19-year-old Brittney Woods. She spent part of the day doing what many young mothers do, balancing responsibility, staying in touch with family, and caring for her daughter. To the people around her, nothing seemed especially unusual. But behind the scenes, the investigation into her extended family was continuing. Detectives were still interviewing witnesses, reviewing evidence, and trying to determine the scope of the allegation that had surfaced just months earlier. At some point of the day, Brittney made plans to meet with her uncle Donald. Donald was married to Brittney's aunt Wendy, making him someone Brittney had known for years. According to investigators, there was nothing to suggest that meeting with him would raise immediate concern. He was family. That exact reason for their meeting has never been publicly confirmed. Some reports have suggested they planned to talk privately, while others have indicated Brittney was simply going to see him.
Law enforcement has never released a detailed account of what was supposed to happen during that meeting, leaving one of the biggest gaps in the timeline. What investigators do know is that Brittney and Donald were together that afternoon. Donald would later become the last known person confirmed to have seen Brittney alive. As the day continued, Brittney's communication with family and friends began to stop. Calls went unanswered. Text messages were no longer returned. For those who knew Brittney, that behavior was unusual. She was a devoted mother and regularly stayed in contact with the people closest to her. It wasn't like her to disappear without telling anyone where she was going. As the hours passed, concern began to grow. Family members started trying to figure out where she had gone and who had seen her last. Every answer pointed back to the same person, Donald Holland. At that point, no one knew they had already entered the first hours of what would become one of Alabama's most puzzling missing person investigations. The following morning, before investigators had the opportunity to fully question Donald about his last known contact with Brittney, another shocking event unfolded. Donald Holland was dead. His death would dramatically change the course of the investigation and leave detectives with questions that, more than a decade later, still have not been answered. Donald Holland was found inside his vehicle in Baldwin County, Alabama. He had suffered a gunshot wound. Donald was still alive when he was discovered and was taken for medical treatment. However, he later died from his injuries. Authorities determined his death was a suicide, but for investigators working to find Brittney, Donald's death created an immediate problem. The person who may have been able to explain Brittney's last known movements was no longer available to answer questions, and then investigators discovered something that made the case even more complicated. The gun used in Donald Holland's death belonged to Brittney Wood. This detail became one of the most troubling parts of the investigation. Why did Donald have Brittney's firearm? How did it leave Brittney's possession? Was there a reason he had it with him that day? Investigators also discovered another piece of evidence connected to Brittney. Inside Donald's vehicle, they found Brittney's cell phone battery, but Brittney's phone was missing. A phone can provide investigators with valuable information, the people someone contacted, messages they sent, and sometimes even location data. Without Brittney's phone, detectives lost another possible way to understand her final hours. The discoveries inside Donald's vehicle became a major focus for anyone following the case. But despite the questions surrounding these items, investigators have never publicly released an explanation that answers how Brittney's belongings ended up with Donald. What is known is this: Brittney was missing, Donald Holland was dead, and some of the evidence left behind only created more uncertainty. As investigators continued searching for Brittney, they now had to work through a complicated timeline involving a missing young mother, a deceased family member, and unanswered questions that had no easy explanation. The search for Brittney Wood continued, but with each passing day, finding answers became more difficult. After Donald Holland's death, investigators were left with a difficult task. They had a missing 19-year-old mother, they had a growing investigation involving her extended family, and they had lost someone who may have been able to explain what happened during Brittney's final known hours. But even with those unanswered questions, the search for Brittney continued. Law enforcement began working to reconstruct her movements from the day and hours before she disappeared. Investigators interviewed family members, reviewed available evidence, and followed leads from people who believed they might have information about where Brittney could be. Search efforts were conducted throughout the area as authorities looked for any sign of her. Friends and family members also refused to give up hope. For Brittney's mother, Chessie Woods, the search was not just about solving a case. It was about finding her daughter and bringing her home. Brittney had been a mother herself. She had a young daughter who was suddenly left without answers about where her mother had gone. As time passed, the investigation became more difficult. The first hours and days after someone disappears are often the most important. Investigators can collect fresh evidence, locate witnesses, and track a person's final movements. But as weeks turned into months, those opportunities became harder to recover. Brittney's phone was never found. There were no confirmed sightings of Brittney after she disappeared, and investigators did not find the evidence they needed to explain where she had gone. The family investigation that had surrounded Brittney before her disappearance continued to receive attention, and some people believed it could be connected to what happened to her. However, investigators have never publicly confirmed exactly what role, if any, that investigation played in Brittney's disappearance. Over the years, detectives continued to receive tips and follow leads. Searches were conducted, information was reviewed, but Brittney remained missing. Her case became one of the most painful mysteries where the questions seemed to grow instead of disappear. Who was responsible for Brittney's disappearance? Does someone know where she was? And why has no one been able to bring her home? More than a decade later, Brittney Wood's family is still waiting for those answers. But before looking at the theories surrounding her disappearance, there is another important part in this case to understand: the people involved, the evidence investigators collected, and the questions that remain unanswered. While investigators continued searching for Brittney Wood, the criminal investigation that began months earlier inside her family continued moving forward. What started in February 2012 as a report made by Randall Scott Wood had grown into a much larger investigation involving allegations of child sexual abuse, incest, and exploitation involving multiple members of Brittney's extended family and family friends. As detectives interviewed victims and gathered evidence, more names began coming forward. The investigation eventually led to multiple arrests. Among those arrests was Wendy Holland, Brittney's aunt and the wife of Donald, Donnie Holland. Prosecutors accused Wendy of being involved in the abuse of children within the family. In 2014, Wendy was convicted of charges including sodomy, sexual abuse, sexual torture, and child endangerment. She was sentenced to 219 years in prison. Another person convicted was Mendy Kent, Wendy Holland's twin sister and Brittney's aunt. Mendy was convicted of sodomy and sexual abuse of a child under the age of 12 and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Dustin Kent, Mendy Kent's husband and Brittney's uncle by marriage, also pleaded guilty to charges connected to the abuse investigation. He received a 17-year prison sentence. A family friend, William Billy Brownlee, was also convicted of sex crimes connected to the investigation and received a prison sentence. Brittney's brother, Derek Wood, was also connected to the investigation. Derek was granted youthful offender status, pleaded to a reduced charge, served prison time, and was required to register as a sex offender. Brittney's uncle, Randall Scott Wood, person who originally reported concerns to law enforcement, was also later charged in connection with the investigation. He pleaded guilty to a felony charge related to the abuse investigation and received a split sentence. Other individuals connected to the investigation were also arrested or charged, including family members and family friends. In total, the investigation involved 11 people who faced allegations connected to child sexual abuse. However, there is an important distinction that must be made. The criminal cases connected to the abuse investigation revealed serious crimes that occurred within Brittney's extended family. But those cases did not answer the biggest question: what happened to Brittney Wood? Although some people have questioned whether the abuse investigation and Brittney's disappearance were connected, no one has ever been convicted of causing Brittney to disappear. Her disappearance remains an open case, and that is what makes this story so difficult. The investigation uncovered a painful family history. It led to arrests and convictions. It exposed years of abuse that had remained unhidden, but it still did not bring Brittney home. The young woman who had once bravely testified against her own abuser as a child was now the person everyone was searching for. Before we end this case, let's remember Brittney Wood. It is easy, when talking about a case like this, to focus on the unanswered questions, the investigation, the evidence, and the theories, but behind every headline and every police report is a real person whose life mattered. Brittney was more than a missing person. She was a daughter, a mother, and a survivor. She was someone who, at only 11 years old, found the courage to speak out about the abuse she experienced and stand before a courtroom to tell her story. She carried the weight of things no child should ever have to carry. As an adult, Brittney was trying to build a different future for herself and her daughter. She wanted to move forward to create a life where her child could have the love, safety, and opportunity she deserved. But on May 30th, 2012, Brittney disappeared more than a decade later. Her family is still waiting for answers. Her daughter grew up without knowing what happened to her mother. Her loved ones continued to hope that one day they will finally learn the truth. The investigation into Brittney's disappearance has uncovered painful family secrets, led to criminal convictions, and raised countless questions. But despite everything, investigators have learned one thing remains the most important. Brittney deserves to be found. She deserves justice, and her story deserves to be remembered. So before we end this case, we ask that you remember Brittney Wood, not only for the mystery surrounding her disappearance, but for the young woman she was, the mother, and the survivor she became. If Brittney's story has shown us anything, is that every missing person is someone loved, missed, and whose life mattered. This is the story of Brittney Wood, and we will continue to remember her. Now let's get into some theories.
Theories.
Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Let's begin detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a car, where could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Researching through your history, it's plenty unsolved mysteries. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah. Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Let's be detectives.
You or me?
Go ahead.
Oh, this case right here, Lord have mercy. If you watch the documentary, guys, it's a lot. Like, some of the things that happen in that, I cannot say on my podcast because it's sick what these adults did to these kids. It's like a family thing. And I personally wonder how long this was really going on. Like, this seemed like generation after generation after generation. These kids was getting molested all the time. And it's so sad because it's like, dang, like, you can't trust your own mom and dad. They giving you away. They're like, here, like, give my child and give me your child. That's the sickest part about it. Like, it's just so sad what the young kids went through. And I always get stuck on what happened with Brittney and Donald because it makes no sense because Brittney wasn't the one who went to the police. Like, she did when she was younger, but that was against her grandmother boyfriend. But this situation, it was the uncle that, told everybody, like, hey, I saw my niece's phone. It was nasty messages on there, like, come talk to her. And it was Donald and Wendy daughter that, like, told the police everything was going on. So I'm like, why did he want to meet with Brittney? To me, I'm like, okay, was Brittney one of his victims, And people like, oh, like, Brittney left, she ran away. I don't think Brittney ran away. Only reason I think that is because she's a mother and she wanted her daughter to have the life that she did. She didn't want her daughter to go through the things that she went through as a kid. I feel like she knew what was going on with her family. She wouldn't left her kid. Even her brothers was charged with SA and a kid. So she wouldn't, leave her kid there. Like, she wouldn't trust her kids around her family. She know, like, what kind of monsters they are. I just wonder, did he kill her, like, when she got in the car, he like, hey, give me your phone, take the battery out, because in case he felt like she was recording the conversation. And then they started talking, and then Brittney, she had her gun. She was like, okay, I need to protect myself because I know how this man is. I need to make sure I'm safe. Did they fight over the gun, and did he shoot her somewhere else and bury her body? Like, that's what I think of. And then he like, oh my God, like, I killed somebody. And taking a weak way out, he unalived himself. He didn't do a good job because he was still alive for, a while. But that's what I think. That's the only theory I have in that situation. Or Brittney unalived him. I don't know. Like, I don't know, like, what happened that car. Only two people know, and one is dead. So I'm stuck on that situation.
I have a theory.
Ooh, let me hear.
I believe it was the grandma, because who else would have a motive to kill Brittney?
Mm-hmm.
Who else would have a motive to unalive Brittney?
Mm-hmm.
The grandma is the only one that I can think of because her man was put in jail because of Brittney. I don't think Donald did it because I don't know many survivors who want to contact their abuser.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they're already they've already moved on, have a family of their own.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a setup because too, why is the phone missing? It all just looks like a setup. You only have a battery
Mm-hmm.
and you unalive Donald as well.
Mm-hmm.
The only person, like I said, that I can see doing that or has a motive to do that is the grandma. I'm not going to say that she did it herself. Maybe she had help and it's kind of like a favor for a favor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, maybe she got somebody within the family to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And in return, she offered something else, which
Yeah.
in this family, it was all sick and twisted and they were offering each other's kids. But to be honest, I don't know if she kept in contact with the man that was sent to jail, her ex-boyfriend. But say she did and she was visiting him in jail, it's just the reoccurring or just knowing that she will never be able to be with him because someone opened their mouth.
Yeah, because it seemed like I wonder why, like when Brittney told, like, hey, like my grandma and boyfriend raped me, why did she tell what else was going on? Because it had to be like it probably started then. She knew what was going on, and she knew what was going on. So I wonder why she didn't say, hey, more stuff is going on. More of my cousins are getting molested. I wonder, she still like the police believe her, everybody believe in her. Why didn't she speak up more?
I think it was because that was her actual family. And this man was just kind of like the boyfriend. And in those like crazy cults, like they protect each other at all cost. And maybe they kind of brainwashed her to say, hey, no, like we're family. And maybe, she was young too, like she didn't know. And after so much time passed, I think she just kind of let it be, became her normal, or she didn't want to be associated because who knows what type of treatment she got after. I don't think the rape or abuse ever stopped. I don't think so, because it was still going on with all of these other nieces and nephews and family members. So I think at the end of the day, maybe she got punished, or there was some type of punishment that happened, and to her it was probably easier to cooperate. You don't know until you're in those situations, but that's the only person that I can kind of think. And a lot of the times, like the grandma is the head of everything that happens. Where do you think that all her kids and her grandkids learned all of that through her?
I wonder. I also wonder, this is the craziest part to me. The uncle that went to the police, right, and told the police all this was going on, he was sentenced too. So he was a part of it. To me, it's like, why did this niece was talking to another person, right? And you went to cops and say, like, hey, this situation is going on. I wonder if he blew the whistle because he was jealous that the niece, sick as it say, that he was jealous that the niece was like talking to like one of the other family members in a sexual way. It wasn't because, oh, I'm trying to save my niece, because he was doing it too. Like he was a part of it too. So I don't understand why you snitching and you're part of it, but you making it seem like, oh, I'm the good guy. You know what I'm saying?
I think he's the one that probably did the favor for the grandma, because why? It's like he wanted to cover his tracks. And at the end of the day, he probably had the most to lose because he's the one that committed the crime for that. That's what I'm thinking.
And it doesn't seem like he had much, because he was going from house, like he was staying with one sister, then he moved with another person. So it seemed like he was just,
It wasn't a family secret. They were all involved. They all did the same thing. I guess some people did more than others, but at the end of the day, I think he had a lot to lose, and it was caving in. They were going to get caught, and it's just he tried to get the least, which
he did.
He did.
Because he snitched. He got the best deal.
Yeah.
The first person to snitch get the best. I pray for all the kids that this happened to. Like,
that endured the abuse.
Yeah, I hope they get the therapy if they need, and, move away from that family, because they need to just get away. Just get away. Because it's just sad that family members did this to them. But guys, this is our case. I would love to hear your theories on this case, and let me know what you think happened to Brittney. Let's talk in the comments. We're on all social medias and podcast platforms, so give us a 5-star rating. Come check us out on YouTube so you can see the family tree, because guys, there's a lot of people in this case. So please come check us out. This is Lesma Tetris. Don't forget, everybody's a suspect,
so proven innocent.
Bye. See you next week.
Lesbian detective. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must. Right now.
Lesbian detective. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the lesbian detectives.